Hi, this is Zak Mir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here on Share Talk for Monday, the 19th of April. Starting off with Corcel, and you can see that looks like we're about to break out of this little consolidation that we've had here between 2 pence and 2.5 pence. End of day close through 2.5 should be enough to give us the journey, or the start of the journey towards 3.5 pence at the top of that rising trend channel from the end of December. The time frame on 3.5 pence hopefully as soon as the end of next month, and maybe even sooner. Stop loss at end of day close back below 2 pence should cover it. It would be surprising if we headed back below there before exploring the upside. Next up, a stock which I don't normally look at, or it's rather too illiquid, but Gemfields on the runway today had a gap through the 50-day moving average at 7.5 pence, and at least while we're above the 50-day line, looking for a target here as high as 10 pence, perhaps by the end of June. Stop loss probably at this stage back below the 200-day line. That's been the support for the shares for quite some time, maybe since the beginning of the year at least, on that particular situation. Worth looking at Genedrive, the Genedrive Barmy Army, see how they're doing at the moment. Here it looks as though there's some light at the end of the tunnel here, a support line, I suppose, from back at the beginning of the year. That looks like sort of providing a stop loss there and support there around the 70 pence level. And while we're above 70 pence, then maybe looking towards a chance of hitting the 200-day line there at 89 pence. I think that would be quite a result there after today's news. Obviously, the shares not quite what they were a couple of months back, but this could be the start. With a gap off of support, that tends to be a decent signal if we can hold that for the rest of today's session. Moving along to a stock which doesn't have quite such issues at the moment, £10 million funding. I interviewed David Minchin over the weekend as well, and I think maybe on Friday actually. And here we've got a decent signal as well, apart from the shares being up today, which is great. We've also had we're heading for an end of day close above the top of the gap. That was at 11.7 pence. And while we're above 11.7 pence on an end of day close basis, we should accelerate towards that 20 pence December resistance line projection. Normally very good news when a stock manages to close a gap, a sell gap or a bearish gap, and close above it over the next day or two, or the following day or two after the gap has been made. Moving along to another stock which is on the front foot at the moment, and here we've got the situation with I-Nexus Global. We managed to hit the top, hit that top of that price channel at 9 pence, and that was our initial target. While we're above 9 pence, looking towards 14 at least over the next few weeks. If you're a fan of the shares and want to dream of higher prices, higher than that even, then possibly we're looking at a target towards 16 to 18 pence, maybe a bit more than that actually, so up to 20 pence in fact, which is a line of resistance from August running through those 2 September peaks. So let's see if the shares can live up to that promise, but above 9 pence certainly over the near term looks as though shares of I-Nexus Global looking pretty solid indeed. Always nice to have a new name, and or at least a new name in the short term. I don't think I've heard of this stock before, which is normally quite an achievement. Kropz PLC. Here we're just breaking this line of resistance from September last year. That's around, I suppose, 4.8, 4.9 pence. And an end of day close early this week above that line should be enough not only to get us back to hitting the 200-day moving average at 5.8 pence, but up to as high as 8 pence. As soon as the end of next month. Just seeing some volume getting back into that stock as well. Obviously before this it was looking very sparse and Spartan indeed in terms of the volume. An old favourite, one of the stocks that keeps coming back for more, is Petro. Here we've had a nice break out of this recent consolidation, breaking the initial April peak at 3.34 pence, and end of day close above that should take us up towards the top of the rising trend channel. Maybe manage to get 5 pence out of that as soon as the end of next month, and the way things are going, even by the end of this month. At this stage, only really back below the 50-day line, 3.09 pence, really delaying the upside scenario, but we don't really expect that to happen. Mobile Tornado, a stock which is not normally on the lists of risers or list of movers even, actually. But here we've had a gap higher over the last few sessions. It's almost like an island gap reversal, breaking that near-term triangle there from December and above the 200-day line at 4.6 pence, looking for decent upside here. Could be or should be at least up towards 6 to 7 pence, which is the post-April 2020 resistance. If you're a bit more ambitious about the shares, maybe looking for something like 7.5 pence at the top of the rising trend channel that I've drawn from back in September. So above, let's say at the moment, the 50-day line, 4.5 pence, looking for 7.5, and only back below 4, really obviously changing that picture. It's been quite a wait for fans of Oilex, and I suppose they're still waiting for the big move here. We've got this bull flag in place. Needed end-of-day close through 0.31, I think, today. That would be good to set the shares on the way to a retest of the early April resistance of 0.5 and maybe a bit more, 0.55, 0.6 possibly, over the next 2 to 4 weeks. For the line is up there where I've drawn it. And at this stage, only really back below the old resistance, 0.23, delaying the upside scenario. Just a couple of shares to go on what is apparently seems to be a rather thin day for the stock market, or the small caps on the stock market. Sort of the 50th attempt, I think, in the recent past for Oracle Power to break out of this recent 0.5, 0.6 range. Probably only back or above 0.7 will really be safe on an end-of-day close basis in terms of getting the shares back on the move. But breaking 0.6 on an end-of-day close basis today, I think, would be a decent signal that finally the shares are on their way, although obviously we've had many false dawns here, one in February and I suppose a rather convincing one in August last year as well. So perhaps better to be late, too late rather than too early on that particular situation. One which is also bubbling up at the moment, the last stock of the day, is Tertiary Minerals, and here we've got a resistance line break that was in place, I suppose, since Thursday, breaking 0.35. The longer we stay above 0.35, the greater the chance of a retest of the 0.6 pence area that we had back in February. Maybe you could squeeze 0.7 pence out of this situation in the aftermath of what looks like a decent falling wedge break. We started off the recent rally with a key reversal to the upside off support, so that normally suggests that a move will have legs. If you're cautious on the stock, maybe wait for an end-of-day close above 0.42, which is the 50-day moving average, but at this stage it looks like we're already on our way above 0.35. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.